Hey folks, it's Marvin Cash, the host of The Articulate Fly, and we're back with another On the Salt with Captain David Blinken. David, how are you?
I'm great, Marvin. Missed your company the past few weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's been a month since we last spoke, and I've been traveling all over the place. I've been up in Virginia with family for the 4th. I was in an OWA event, and I was at ICAST last week. But I think the last time we spoke, you were getting ready to head up to Martha's Vineyard for the holiday weekend.
Yeah, I headed up there. Was up there with my wife and my best buddy, and we had some great cooking, some good wine, and every morning I was taking walks along a flat there in Martha's Vineyard and having some fun with some old friends called striped bass, which we don't seem to have very many of them left here in Long Island.
Yeah, you were telling me that it's been since the end of June that you had a client on your boat catch a striper on the flats.
Yeah, I mean, it was the very end of June before I headed to the vineyard, and I had a client out, got a really nice one, got a 30-inch plus striper and about a foot of water. It was quite exciting. We got to see quite a lot of backing get peeled off the reel, but otherwise we've seen a few bass since then in shallow water. But as we all know in fly fishing, especially in saltwater, it's kind of the law of averages, and if you don't get a few shots a day, it's really, really hard to hook up a fish. And when you're only seeing 3-4 fish a day in shallow water, and you don't know what direction they're coming from, it's kind of hard to get them to eat, or let alone get a cast to them.
Yeah. And so have you been chasing other species on the flats, or have you had to kind of go a little bit more offshore to get what you're looking for?
I'm going a little more afield. We've been having a lot of fun with bluefish, and there's been some, rather large ones. I've been having days where we're catching blues from 30 inches to 36 inches, and it's about all a 10 weight can handle. Bluefish are really tenacious fighters.
Yeah, you got to tell the client to hold on to the rod, right?
Oh, definitely. Hang on tight. And we've mostly been using small poppers and gurglers, which is a huge amount of fun. It's nothing strikes it quite as viciously as a bluefish on top water. It's really fun.
Got it. And so are they busting bait, or are they being just attracted to the gurgler or the popper?
They're being attracted. And in fact, we're finding, these big, huge groups of laid up bluefish, and you just see them kind of finning with their dorsals and tails out of the water, swimming along, or just kind of huddled up. And, you just kind of throw a fly right along the edge of them, and you just start pulling it, and they'll just come up behind it and smack it. And today with a client, he just flopped the fly in the middle of him. He didn't even get the first strip, and a bluefish came up and hammered it. It was great fun.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. And got an interesting question for you. It seems to be kind of the time of year, if you're a freshwater guy, it's so hot, people are really concerned. But Brenner wanted to get your thoughts on tips for fighting and handling fish to keep them healthy once you release them.
Well, that's a great question. Let's start with the hook. If you really want to handle your fish well, and if you want to make it easy on the fish, let's all fish barbless. That's that first and foremost. Yeah, you might lose the occasional fish, but if you're maintaining pressure when you're reeling the fish in, I think you won't lose too many fish. So barbless is so important because when it comes time to release the fish, the hook just slides right out. So that's the first thing. The second thing is try to catch a fish with as heavy a line as possible. The reason why is the sooner you get the fish in, the sooner you can release it, and the happier the fish is. And when you're releasing your fish, try to release your fish while they're in the water. And having a barbless hook certainly makes it easier to do that. If you have a barb in the hook, then you've got to, remove the fish from the water. You've got to handle it a lot. And that, taking the fish out of the water is never that good for the fish. So barbless hook, as heavy a line as possible, as heavy a rod as possible. If you want to do that, who wants to catch a 20-pound bluefish on an 8 weight? that's just no fun because then you have to baby the rod so you don't break it. So if you're going for, bluefish that are going to be 10 pounds and up, use a 10 weight. Use a 10 weight. Use 25 or 30 pound test because they're not leader shy at all. Get that fish in quick. Use a barbless hook or popper and release that fish from the water if you can. There's these great little tools that you can use that you just slide the tool right down the hook and you give it a little twist and out it comes, and you're not endangering your hand with a fish like a bluefish. And if it's a striper, you can just keep them under the water, put their thumb on the lower jaw, keep them in the water, slide the hook out and just let them swim off. And, there's so many different fish you can do that with.
Yeah, and I was going to say too, even though you may lose a few fish on barbless, you get more hookups because you don't have to pull and set the hook hard enough to get the barb to push through, right?
It's very true. As long as you maintain a really sharp point on your fly, you're going to get penetration much more effectively because it doesn't have to go over that bump. And so that's a very true statement. And so you do get a lot of more, you get easier hookups, certainly with barbless hooks.
Yeah. And where you are, do you have to worry about sharks chasing things down like you would say in the Bahamas where, if you see a shark, you got to break the fish off?
Very, very occasionally. What I actually have to worry about are these big gray seals. And every so often they get a little bit crazy and you'll be reeling in a large bluefish and the fish is between you and the beach. Occasionally a gray seal will come along and just grab your fish and just swim off with it. We've learned just to, instead of breaking the fish off or breaking the fly off and stuff, we've learned to let the gray seals just eat the fish. And then when they're done eating the fish, they spit out the head and you get your fly or your lure back if you're spin fishing. So, and over comes a nice head of whatever fish you just caught, but at least you get your tackle back. It doesn't happen that often, but on occasion, when it does happen, you just have to kind of go with the flow, so to speak.
Yeah. And, folks, we love questions on the articulate fly. You can email me or DM me on social media. Try to make David's life easier, as I always say. And if we use your question, I will send you some articulate fly swag. And we're going to enter a drawing for the Royal Wolf line of your choice. And I think if you go back and listen to the last report, David and I tell you guys how much we like fishing with Royal Wolf lines. And, David, the next time we talk, you're actually going to be in Campeche, Mexico. We're going to try to make that work for everybody, right?
I'm going to be in Campeche, Mexico, and I'll be there with Steve Ramirez, who was one of your guests recently. And maybe I'll bring Steve in on the call with us.
Yeah, we'll see how good the internet is down in Mexico. And it's interesting, folks. We just released that interview with Steve. It's my second one that I've done with him about a week ago. You should check it out. We really spent about an hour just talking about lessons from the river or the ocean too. But I always love my conversations with Steve, and I hope you enjoyed that one. So you ought to check it out.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I got to go back and listen to it again.
Yeah. And so, I wish you safe travels. I knock on wood. I got home on Friday with the computer bug. So hopefully everything goes smoothly for you and Steve down in Mexico, and we'll be able to have that call. And, folks, as I always say, you owe it yourself to get out there and catch a few. Tight lines, everybody. Tight lines, David.
Tight lines.